Warning, this video contains spoilers of the series MoominValley. If you want to check it out before watching this video, I'll leave a link in the description. Greetings, Earthlings! The name is Peeaxx. Firstly, I want to apologize for the quality of the audio. I am recording this on my phone. But anyway, today I came to talk about one of my favorite shows ever. Or favorite franchises, actually. Moomin! Specifically, MoominValley, the 2019 version. I love this series. It has some amazing writing, characters, and character development. The stories are cute and sweet, but at the same time are filled with adventure and thrill. It's also extremely gay! I love this series, and you could imagine my excitement when I knew that there was a 4th season coming in. I avoided all spoilers for a while, because I had super high expectations. Honestly, the writing of the first 3 seasons is actually really good, if you overanalyze it like a crazy fanatic, like me. However, when the season actually came out, which was not much after my birthday, I was confused. It all felt really off. It felt different, and not in a good way. So today, ladies, gentlemen, and whatnot, I will explain to you exactly why MoominValley Season 4 is absolute garbage. Yes, it is awful, and I am going to explain exactly why. Because I need to get this out of my system. It was so bad, I got sick for 2 days and depressed for a week. Yeah, maybe I exaggerated, but look, it was my comfort show, okay? So I need to talk about this. Also, before I say anything else, English is not my first language, so I apologize if I say anything wrong or if I stutter. I don't have a script at all. So yeah, I'm just gonna talk and see how it goes. So to start, I'm going to talk about the episode format. You know how I said before that everything felt a little off? Well, this is exactly why. You see, the episode format in Season 1, 2, and 3 was pretty straightforward. There was a story, a conflict, and a solution. Pretty standard stuff. However, in Season 4, this changed. And, as I said before, not for good. You see, before it was just 1 story per episode, or 2, but both stories were interesting. But in Season 4, every single episode is plot A and plot B. And usually one of them is kind of interesting and the other one is just extremely boring. As an example, the episode where we finally meet Joxter, yes, I'll get to that. We have Moomin Troll and Moomin Papa going to look for him, which to me is very interesting because we'll finally get to see the character everyone has been wanting to see. And meanwhile, we also have to witness Moomin Mama and Little Mai trying to build a thing to warm their house. I could not care less. They could freeze for all I care, because that's not what I'm watching the episode for. So, yeah, I think that's the most basic way I can explain it. Everything just feels really boring and bland and nothing really happens. So, yeah, I think that's all I can really say about the episode format. Trust me, I'll rant more about the other points. One of the biggest praises I have for this show is the character development. Because despite being a show, quote-unquote, for kids or younger ones, the characters have a very natural and beautiful character development. They all have their own arcs, and it's really cool to see it develop so naturally. So, of course, after everything they have lived in the last 3 seasons, you'd expect them to be better versions of themselves in the last one. Well, guess what? It's like none of that ever even happened. Because guess what? All of the characters that had any sort of character development were pushed back to a blank slate. They are all very one-dimensional and boring, and it's like none of the stuff we saw already ever happened. This is especially noticeable with characters like Moomin Troll and Snufkin. But everyone just feels extremely out of character, like they learned nothing when we actually saw them learning. So yeah, that sucks. It's like we're not even looking at the same characters. It feels like we're watching a season 0, because heck, even in the first season they have some sort of character development. So yeah, that's basically what I have to say about that. Moving on. Next up, I wanted to talk about the weird priorities they had with the characters. I think we can all agree that in season 1, 2, and 3, Snufkin and Moomintroll were the main characters. However, in this last season, it's like Snufkin wasn't even there. He was in like 4 episodes at best. And as a Snufkin fanatic, I am deeply offended by the lack of Snufkin. I think we can all agree that it's one of the fandom's favorite characters. And as we saw him in the trailer, well, we could just expect to see Snufkin as much as in the last seasons. But there's this character that came in to replace Snufkin, and they thought we wouldn't notice. The inclusion of Joxter was to replace Snufkin. I am almost certain of that. I have a few theories of why they excluded Snufkin, mainly because of all the gay accusations between Snufkin and Moomintroll. I say accusations like it's something bad, but apparently to the production it is. Trust me, I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. So, we didn't have Snufkin, which was one of the main characters in the first seasons. However, we did have Sniff, everyone's favorite character. Okay, seriously, I dislike Sniff. He has some genuinely funny jokes and stuff, but honestly, I find him really annoying and he's just the third wheel. Not only that, but they also included Moomin Papa a little too much. And by a little too much, I mean he was the main character of way too many episodes. It genuinely felt like Moomin Papa was the main character and not Moomintroll himself. So, yeah, they replaced the 2 main characters with 2 other characters that are kind of annoying. In the first 3 seasons, I actually really liked Moomin Papa, especially because of his voice and the jokes he makes. Honestly, I can only see the Butt Witch from 12 Forever. It's the same actor.
So it seems everyone in the valley has a motive.
Who would do such a thing to my grown-up wonderland?
However, in this season, he just was annoying. It's like, goddamn, another Moomin Papa episode? Where's Moomintroll? Where's Snufkin? Heck, where's Little Mai? Please, just stop using Sniff and Moomin Papa. They are not the main characters. Just stop being cowards and let Snufkin and Moomintroll be gay. I mean, friends. Friends, yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that 2 main characters got pushed away to get replaced by not very likable ones. Moving on. Now I want to talk about one of the most expected characters in the series. One that, since the books, hasn't really gotten a chance to shine. Yes, he did appear in the 90s version, but he was just kind of there. I personally think that he was never really given a proper personality. And here, well, they tried. Yes, I am talking about the Joxter. The one and only father of Snufkin. Yes, Snufkin and Joxter are literally copy-paste and only Little Mai noticed. Anyway, I do like Joxter, but I do have a few complaints about him. Firstly, the design. The model is kind of weird. You know how in the books he has cat eyes? Well, here instead of cat eyes, they gave him Asian eyes? I don't know, he looks Asian to me. Those are not cat eyes, my friend. Also, his hair. Joxter has a very cool hairstyle. And, well, yes, it was the same hairstyle that Snufkin had, and it's true that they did change Snufkin's hair. However, I do think that Snufkin's new hairstyle fits him better in this version. But I can't say the same about Joxter. He looks like he hasn't taken a bath in 8 months. Which, let's be honest, is probably true, but he still looks really weird. He looks like a completely different character. It's like he was modeled by a different person. Like, the people who modeled the original guys just weren't available or something. Because he does look different, and I can't pinpoint what exactly makes him look different. Maybe it's the eyes or the way the mouth moves, but something about him unsettles me. And about his personality, I do think that he's kind of boring. I know there's a lot of Joxter lovers out there, and I was one of them. But honestly, I think they did him dirty. I mean, come on, let's all be honest. Before, he was Snufkin but hot, and now he's Snufkin but old. What happened, man? He is constantly high, and you cannot tell me otherwise. It's an interesting trait, but I'm still not too happy with his personality. I feel like he needs a little more sass, I don't know. Because he feels very bland. Like his only personality is being high, being weird, and sleeping. And it's true that the books didn't really provide much information about him, but that was quite a missed opportunity to give him a more cool personality, you know? So yeah, those are basically my thoughts on Joxter. I think the model is kind of strange, he looks weird. The personality is pretty bland, I mean, he barely has one, honestly. And I'm not saying I didn't like him, I was really excited to see him, but maybe my hopes were a little too high. High. Like Joxter. So my thoughts with Joxter were kind of nitpicks. But what I'm going to talk about now is a genuine complaint. Because I am angry. You see, ever since the books, the fandom has been waiting for Snufkin and Joxter to meet. Of course, they're father and son. That should be interesting, right? I mean, especially considering Joxter was absent from Snufkin's entire life. And I'm pretty sure the producers or writers knew that the fandom, well, really wanted to see them reunite. So what did they do? Did they let them reunite? Well, here's the thing. There's an entire sequence where Joxter is playing a melody inside and Snufkin is outside. And little Mai tells Snufkin like, hey, yo, there's someone cool inside that you should meet. And so they both head inside. And it's like, oh my goodness, Joxter and Snufkin are actually going to meet. The music and the whole situation really hypes you up. The entire instrumental is like, yes, it's gonna happen, it's finally gonna happen. Just for MoominValley to tell them that he left. He just left. God damn it, Snufkin! Run! He's like a 40-year-old man. If you run, you can reach him. Just move. Don't stand there like, oh, well, I guess we were never supposed to meet. Shut up! Go outside and go find him. You can! This entire sequence was just a kick to the fans. It was hyping the fans up for something that they knew the fans wanted. Just so in the end it's like, oh, he left. Oh, shucks. Why would you do that? You literally baited your entire community. Oh, but that's not over, my dear friends. It's not the last time they bait the community in the 4th season. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So yeah, basically I am extremely angry at the fact that they didn't let Joxter and Snufkin meet. And look, it's okay if they didn't want them to meet at all. You know, that's fine. But at least don't make people think that they are going to meet. Don't hype it up like it's actually gonna happen just so in the end it doesn't. Why would you backstab your fans like that? The only Moomin book I have is Comet in MoominValley. So you could imagine my excitement when at the end of season 3, there was a small teaser that would be the next story they'd be tackling. And I got even more excited when the season actually came out, and the Comet in MoominValley was actually a 2-episode special. But when I actually watched it, I was very, very disappointed. Comet in MoominValley is a great book, and so they tried to adapt it, but it all felt very rushed. Everything happened a little too fast, and just because. The Comet special was all over the place. It was like everything happened, and at the same time, nothing happened at all. And as the last episode of the series ever, I had high expectations. Expectations that were crushed instantly. It all happened so fast, and it all felt like a bunch of nonsense, honestly. But that's not my biggest complaint somehow. My biggest complaint is the ending. You see, I have the book, so I know how the story ends. The whole story is about a comet that is going to hit MoominValley. And the book ends in everyone in a cave, the comet lands and it leaves, and everyone is safe because they were inside the cave. However, for some reason, the producers thought that it wasn't a good idea to just follow the damn book, and instead they decided to make their own original ending. How did that go, you may ask? Well, let's just say it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You see, instead of just letting the original plot of them being in the cave, being safe, and not knowing what's going on outside, they decided to go with, oh no, the Groke doesn't fit in the cave, so we're all going to stay out here, because it's definitely a good idea for all of us to die instead of some of us surviving. So yeah, everyone stays outside the cave with the Groke. And well, the Groke, as we know, is attracted to the light. And so she sees a giant fireball in the sky and follows it. Honestly, what happens next is so stupid it's almost funny. I actually laughed when it happened, so here it goes. Instead of everyone staying safely in the cave, the Groke goes towards the giant ball of fire in the sky and explodes. Okay, maybe not that literally, but like we see them bump into each other, everything goes to white, and next thing we see, the comet is gone and the Groke is gone as well. Now, I think that is hilarious because it just looks like the Groke literally died to the comet. Now, in the end, Moomintroll and Moominmama stay staring at the sea, and you can vaguely hear the Groke in the distance. And Moomintroll says, oh, she's still alive, okay, cool. I like to think that the Groke actually died and only Moomintroll can see her now. But I just can't understand, like, someone literally died and everyone just left like nothing had happened. She literally made the comet explode and probably exploded herself because casually only Moomintroll saw her. They didn't even let the audience see the Groke to know if she was safe. So yeah, I personally think she died. Now, as much as I laugh at this and think it's hilarious, I also am pretty mad. The original ending for the book was pretty good. As I was reading it, I actually felt the dread of being in that situation. Being in a cave and just hearing everything outside but not knowing what's actually going on. I think it was something really well made. And they decided to change it for whatever reason. I am extremely annoyed with this ending, even though I think it's funny that the Groke is dead. But there is one more expectation I had for the ending that they broke. And that's my next point. Throughout the first 3 seasons, we saw Snufkin and Moomintroll's relationship evolve. What started as a codependent relationship where Moomintroll wanted Snufkin to always be there and Snufkin just wanted to leave, they ended up actually having a more healthy relationship, with Moomintroll being more independent and Snufkin valuing his friends a little more. Season 3 literally ends with Snufkin's arc. And, well, you probably saw the title card, so... Snufmin, the romantic ship between Snufkin and Moomintroll. These two have always been paired together ever since the books. However, I don't consider them very canon in any other version, really. However, in the 2019 version, they have a lot of chemistry, and from the very first episodes, you can see how much they care for each other. They have a lot of cute scenes together, and they both grow as characters. I personally think that the romantic tension between these two was pretty obvious. Every scene looks very intentional, like the writers actually wanted it to be romantic. It all lines up too well, and it feels like they genuinely wanted to make them a couple, or at the very least make them have some sort of tension. And they were actually doing this very well. Throughout the 3 seasons, they both grew, and the relationship became a lot healthier and more beautiful, as they weren't as toxic as they were before. And it's very clear in the episode The Lonely Mountain, where Snufkin is literally about to confess his feelings. The writers almost definitely had something romantic planned for these two. However, in the 4th season, as I mentioned before, all of the character development was scrapped. Which means that all the development, the relationship between Moomintroll and Snufkin was completely scrapped as well. I also mentioned that Snufkin isn't a main character anymore and he's barely there, which also affects a lot this relationship, because the first 3 seasons were a lot about these two, and well, not anymore. I think we all know that Moomintroll and Snorkmaiden are supposed to be like a couple, but in this version, they always treat them as special friends. Yes, that's what they call each other. Something tells me that them calling each other special friends was completely intentional, and that they were planning something else with Snufkin and Moomintroll. However, in this 4th season, Snufkin and Moomin barely interact, and when they do, it just doesn't have the tension and the spark it had before. Before, in every interaction, you could literally feel the tension between these two, and in the 4th season you can't, because there is no such thing. They wanted to treat them as just friends. And though yes, a lot of people want to treat them as just friends, I think it's clear that in this version they aren't just friends. I think there were a lot of very forced scenes between Moomintroll and Snorkmaiden, as I think they were trying to hide everything else that happened with Snufkin and Moomintroll. I for one think they're just cowards and they weren't willing to risk it. Even though they had everything set up perfectly for a gay relationship, they decided to back out and not do it at all. Me personally, I expected them to at least hold hands in the end. But no, they didn't even stare at each other, like Snufkin just freaking left. Bro didn't even bother to check if the Grog was alive. But this honestly just feels like another stab to the fandom, because everyone was expecting Snufkin and Moomintroll to be together, especially considering the ending of Season 3, where we literally see them holding each other, walking in the sunset in the most romantic way possible. But yeah, I just think that they were too scared to make some genuine inclusion, and just decided to kick in Missabelle in there, so, you know, they think, oh, we're still inclusive. We're still inclusive. No, you're not. The only relationship that the series actually treated as a relationship that grew, you didn't make it canon, and instead you just put in a bunch of forced heterosexual scenes because they're heterosexual. We've already seen that Moomintroll and Snorkmaiden do not work together, and they're cute, yes, but not as a couple. They're really toxic, and we've already seen them arguing and having a lot of trouble. I think the first 3 seasons made an effort to let us see that, and to make the relationship between Snufkin and Moomintroll a lot more nice, and make it have some genuinely cute development, making them really care about each other in healthier ways than before. I, for one, genuinely believed that they were going to make it canon, or at the very least give some fan service. But nope, they did not. Instead, the only scene where there's any sort of physical contact is the one they used for the trailer, because they think we're stupid or something. So yeah, I am very disappointed at this, because, bro, literally everything was telling us, like, hey, these two love each other, by the way. And they decided not to because they're scared. They're cowards. So, yeah, that sucks. Snufmin canon. Someday, man, someday. So those were my complaints about Season 4. I apologize for my rambling and if I said stuff that didn't make sense. As I said, English is not my first language, and also I've never done any sort of thing like this before. I have never recorded myself and talked about something, especially not in English. So yeah, this is new territory for me, and I'm sorry. I know the quality of the audio is quite terrible. The video has subtitles, but it's the only one I could find for free download. And I was too lazy to look up another one. And yeah, Season 4 sucks, and it made me really sad and disappointed, and oh man, I just really needed to get all those complaints out of my system. Anyway, once again, I apologize for the quality of everything. I am recording this, editing this, and drawing all the sprites you see, so yeah. Hey, it's my first attempt. I hope it's not that bad. I know it's not very professional, and it's very obvious I don't know what I'm saying half the time, but But I hope I managed to entertain you at least a little bit. So yeah, that is basically what I have to say. MoominValley is an amazing series, and MoominValley Season 4 is absolute garbage, and ruins everything that had been already established. So yeah, don't you think it's great? It's the last season and they will never be able to fix this mistake? Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Anyway, thank you so much for watching until the end. This has been Peeaxx, and see you next time? I don't know if there'll be a next time. This format of videos, I've never done something like this before, and I don't know if I ever will again, because it took me a lot to even start this. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know if you want to see more of me just rambling. Probably not, but you know, just in case. And yeah, this has been Peeaxx the Alien. Farewell, humans. I should not have eaten. Morty. Anyway, thank you so much for watching until the end. This has been Peeaxx, and that was not part of the script. You're joking. God damn.